Okay, so let's go deep into understanding the quantitative reasoning section on the GRE, which is basically the math section on the GRE, but the GRE rightfully calls it the quantitative reasoning section because again it is testing your reasoning and analytical and critical skills, right? I will not walk you through the topics that you need to prepare for the GRE because again the topic list is readily available everywhere on the internet, and also those topics are 8 to 10 grade math topics, right? So GRE is difficult not because the math is complex or very advanced. It's difficult because it requires a lot of reasoning for you to be able to get to the answer. So we will talk about the question types here, which are much more relevant uh, to discuss. All right, now finally, let's talk about the type of questions that appear on the quantitative reasoning section of the GRE. So the first one is the same old multiple choice question that you would see on a lot of other tests, and you get around 2 to 4 MCQs per section of the quantitative reasoning sections on the GRE, right? So you get a total of 2 quant sections, remember? Uh, so you'd have 2 to 4 in the first, 2 to 4 in the second one. And of course, within MCQs, you have two types. The first type is where you can only select one answer choice. And such questions will have the answer choices with circles. So you'd see the answer choices with circles to the left of them. And that basically shows that you can pick only one answer choice. And of course, the second one is where you can select multiple, and the answer choices on such a question would have checkboxes. So you can select multiple checkboxes or multiple answers. Then you have what the GRE calls a numeric entry. You get 1 to 2 questions per section. Basically, you can expect to see, something like a statement or a triangle uh, whose area you have to calculate, and then enter into a box the number that you get as your answer, and hence the name numeric entry, right? On the GRE, the inbuilt software calculator has a button which allows you to print screen or transfer screen, which basically is a function of transferring whatever you have calculated and gotten as an answer to the box instantly instead of taking 1 or 2 seconds to type it there. Then you have the data interpretation type questions, which by the way are the questions which, if students do not know how to tackle, waste so much time of students, because data interpretation questions are not difficult concept wise. They're not difficult in terms of challenging you into developing a strategy or an approach for them. The main problem with data interpretation type questions is the lots and lots of data that you see on the screen, and that just confuses you. That just takes so much time, right? And even after getting a correct answer, you keep checking on the data over and over and over again, and you waste a lot of precious time, which you could have used and utilized to solve other questions and get a higher score, right? So when it comes to data interpretation type questions, I always recommend students to leave these for the end. And for that, I say just give 10 minutes in the end to data interpretation type questions. Solve the rest of the questions at a rate of around 1.3 minutes per question, and then give 10 minutes to data interpretation type question. And then if you have 1 or 2 extra minutes, you can go and check any question that you marked from the other questions. All right, so you'll get 3 questions per section, so 6 questions on the complete test, because you have exactly 2 quant sections. on the GRE. The last one is the most important type, and that is why I had kept it for the last. For last, quantitative comparison type questions make up around 40% of the overall quant that you would encounter on the GRE, right? So you have two sections, and you'd get around 4 to 5 questions for quantitative comparison on each section of quant, right? Again, if you recall the test structure, after essay, you go into a quant section, let's call it quant 1, then verbal 1, then quant 2, then verbal 2, and of course these can swap places. Verbal 1 can come here, quant 1 can come there, and same with the second block. Anyway, so quantitative comparison type questions are the most important to ace since they make up the majority of questions on the quantitative reasoning section on the GRE as a whole. A quantitative comparison type question always gives you two quantities, right? Now those quantities could be completely independent, or those quantities could be linked to some question stem or some geometric shape at the top, and then you're always given 4 options. So you have to basically compare the two quantities. Now that's why it's called quantitative comparison. And those 4 options are always saying A, quantity A is bigger, B, quantity B is bigger, C, both quantities are equal, and D, the relationship cannot be determined, right? And based upon your calculations, you have to pick one option, keeping in view if one quantity is bigger than the other, or if both are equal, or there's not sufficient data to determine a relationship between the two quantities, which is in most cases a scenario where quantity A can be bigger in few examples, and quantity B can be bigger in other cases or other examples. So these are the question types that you would encounter on the quantitative reasoning section of the GRE. Just getting to know them, just getting to know things in general makes you more and more confident in tackling them, in handling them. So that's my primary aim with this video. See you in the next one.